He said, me, I'm lonely. Like he was at the beginning. It better not be a number 2. This is the only one. If I find out there's a number 2, this man right here, if I could fight like Angela, him right here, he would have to see me. What did we learn from this book? 300. 332 pages.
The next
It only
book.
goes up from here.
The next book is also one I recommended, but this time I actually read it. I had read it before I recommended it.
Okay.
Now this next book is the only 5-star read that we have in this from me. The only 5-star read I gave. It's Sula by Toni Morrison. I've told you this before, Tati. Toni Morrison made me feel like I can't write.
I love this book. I didn't read anything about this book. It was a blind buy. And I will buy any other book by her blindly. Okay? This was a really good book. I will say this, I don't blame Ronald because I knew he didn't read that book. And I knew how hard he searched. So it's not that is on that man. This is the type of books. These are level books that he gives us. Okay.
This my book. It's in the textbook.
I didn't take my notes while I was reading this, so this one is a little bit different. So yeah, like
That's
I
how
said,
you
it
know
was
it
a
was
blind
good.
read. So he didn't give me any no details. So when I first read the book, I thought it was gonna be about the crazy man. I should have went back for names. I didn't for the crazy man. Sorry. It's
Shadrach.
what is it? Shadrach. I'm like, Sanji? No, it's Shadrach. So I thought it was gonna be about him. And I kind of wanted more from his story, but we could get into that. Now, I don't know how y'all gonna take this, but Nell is one of my least favorite characters. He one of my least favorite characters. Okay? She not good, but she not bad. She not good, she not bad. It's just meh. And she mainly like an enabler. Like I feel like she's an enabler. That's how I feel about her. And yeah, she was a little meh. The train scene, um, before I get back into this, I want to say, just overall with this book, it felt very much like sitting on your grandma's porch and listening to her tell the story. And you don't know where the story's going. But you know your grandma lived a life. You know she's an interested person. You know this story gonna be good. That's what this story reminded me of. So when I was reading this, that's how I felt. I felt like, especially once I got more into it, because at first I didn't really know what the story is about. But the more I got into it and the more the story started forming, I was like, this is a hug. But I think that the train ride was humbling because it's a reminder that like you black, like no matter where you go.
Ooh,
And
remember what I wanted to talk about?
what?
All these authors downplaying us black people from the South in their books.
Oh,
I'm gonna
oh
insert
yeah.
it right here. I'm gonna insert it right here because we own it. I'm going to give Toni a pass on that because her book take place in the 1920s. What no black people trying to be in the South,
Mm-hmm.
including my own family. Like everybody was migrating to the North. So I'm gonna give her a pass because wasn't nobody trying to be there. But Michael and Eric, sirs, I don't appreciate y'all calling us country. I don't appreciate y'all saying we couldn't dress. I don't appreciate y'all saying we had no game. Not that I don't even care about that mess right there because I'm not even dating no ways. But what I'm saying is, why are y'all downplaying y'all target audience?
Where did Derek's gang get him? Oh, that's all I want to say.
I don't appreciate that, but we can go back to Toni.
Yeah, for Tony, it was like that, and I was saying the soldiers, it was stank. Like they had the stank looks, but I feel like it wasn't even that Nell necessarily even agreed with them. She just didn't want to be like stressed out. She was just like, "Hey, I'm glad the eyes not on me. I don't want them eyes." That's why I don't know. She was very mad. Like even I feel like hanging out this was my question. It was like, was hanging out with Sula as rebellious as it seemed? Like, was it really rebellious? I
You know
am
what?
not sure.
Imma say Imma go back to the train scene for a little bit, and Imma come back to that, because I had 2 different reactions when I read it. The first time I read it, I thought the soldiers didn't like the mom because she was, playing that, what's that role? The role of, like, the black person being all submissive to white people?
Oh, like Uncle Tom.
Yeah, but, like, the woman version. But then when I read it this second time again for this, I was like, "Oh, wait, it's another feeling there," because Nell is seeing these men look at her mom in a way that's distasteful to her. And like they're like, it's not really like disgust, it might be, but they're also looking at her lustfully. Because think about it, she's a light-skinned woman. And
Mhm.
we know how rampant colorism still is. And so imagine how much more rampant it was back then with the overt
And
racism.
she was described as, like, literally beautiful and, like, she was lucky. Ooh, let's not get into that with Nell, because it's very much what she was like, she lucky that she didn't get the looks. Girl, that's your daughter.
And
But
then
it's one of those,
go
um
ahead.
I was saying it's one of those, like you said, with the times of when it was written.
And then going back to was her hanging out with Sula really a rebellion? I'm like, I don't I don't think so because remember, her mom was all like, "Oh, I hope Sula's not like how her mom is." And then when they met, she was like, "Oh, Sula's an absolute amazing girl, nothing like her mom." Da 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 da. So I don't even think it was a rebellion because rebellion would be Nell hanging out with Sula and her mom doesn't approve, but her mom approved.
So it's like it ain't that big of a, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Maybe at first, but it wasn't. And then let me get exactly. Sula's family was the party, and it started making sense a little bit of where the story was going. Her family, that was the party. They gave me her grandma was one of my favorite perspectives. Like her perspective was one of my favorites. And it's because it was like nurturing, all seeing, proactive and protective and like solution driven like the whole time. Like it's like her grandma was like, even from her house, like the symbolism of her being able to see everybody, taking everybody in, and just how she dealt with things, like being proactive, figuring out what to do with her for her kids. But I think that something else that I was thinking about is like when the grandma, you know how her husband left her and then he came back and she kind of like froze up. And I feel like that kind of foreshadowed the ups and downs in this whole book that it was gonna be for me. Because like in a sense, she had waited that long because she hated him. Then she talked to him and poured him some lemonade like everything was normal. And then it was like, I hate him all over again. So, um, yeah, Mama was just man. I don't even know who Mama. It just say Mama was man. No real substance to her. But she's like subtly moved the story forward. So it wasn't like she was just there. She was doing some work to move the story forward. I think I was talking about Sula's mom, but it was just it wasn't really, she
Her
ain't
mom
giving me
did have
anything.
her mom had kind of like an impact, but you had to be like paying like super close attention to it
Yeah,
because
it's like,
not only did she teach Sula like kind of influence her in the way that she ended up going, but also remember her sitting there talking to the other women and she's all like, "Oh, I don't like Sula, but I love her." And you know how that affected Sula heavily?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like, man, but it was like the little things how you said that pushed, she subtly just pushed the story forward. So it's like how you said, if you were paying attention, you seen her pushing the story, but for the most part, for me, she wasn't one of the life of the party. I love that the grandma built the house. That was one of my favorite
Mhm.
parts too. I love that the house was this dysfunctional, what she wanted it to be. I think that was amazing. Um, what did I say? Oh, is it juries? The juries?
Oh, the
I was like,
Deweys.
the Deweys. Okay, because I love juries. The Deweys are a mess as they should be. That's what I wrote down. And the one they're a mess as they should be, but people not knowing how to tell them apart reminds me of people calling like, white people calling all black men boy. That's
Mhm,
what it reminds when they be like, go get, jewelry, go get jewelry." It's like that. It gave me that vibe, and it's like, they can't like, when they say that and they can't really tell you apart. But it also reminds me of, like, it has that double meaning where it's like, it reminds me of that on one end, but on the other end, it reminds me of, like, when your parent can't remember your name and they call you every other sibling. So it has both of those sides to it. That is what I feel about it. And it's like, then I went to the deaths. Because remember, I did this after the fact. And I was like, I don't think I could do it. But after I did it, I was like, oh no, I got a lot to talk about. Um, the deaths were very, like, eerie. Like, she has a way of writing that makes you question what's going on. Like, I didn't realize that Plum was even dying until the daughter ran up and said no, till the mom said it. Like, not even when they were like, "Oh, the door wouldn't open." It wasn't until the mom was like so the grandma was like, "Oh, my baby is dead." That made me realize he was like, the way she wrote it, that woman's writing is different.
mhm.
Like, that woman's writing is different. Like, I think I read Beloved before. I don't remember it too much, but something I remember about that, and even the movie, is just how it's just eerie. It's like an illusion, like her way with words. Listen, because I did not know that boy was dying. Even when he was like, he smiled with like the gasoline, stuff like that. You really, even like the death of like little chicken. I reread that death 3 times, 4 times. I had to keep rereading it because I was like, was he? I thought he was just going for a swim. Like I was like, oh, maybe he got in the water because he was going for the swim. Like I I did not know what was going on, and I didn't realize that Sula killed him. I had to reread that like 3 times, especially because it was so joyful. Like, it was so like, we were playing, I spun him around, threw him in the water, the bubbles came up, and Nell is, like, looking, kinda smiling type thing, like, it's so joyful that you have to really I had to reread to make sure I was reading the right thing. 'Cause she
It was just interesting because it's like she tossed him in the water and then he's dead, and then they get to the funeral and everybody's all acting out, crying their eyes out, but it's like they not really crying because he's dead, but they just acting out because they want to release some like they own inner what they got going on in themselves, and it's like the perfect moment, and nobody's gonna judge them because they are gonna think we crying about this little boy that then died. And then I wrote the disrespect of black people even in death because just the way he was found, like he's found floating in the rocks and they done tossed him on a boat and then he was found by like a fisherman, a white fisherman. They done tossed him on the boat and threw him off the boat because he was dragging the boat down and they talking about, oh, they be drowning their children and all this other stuff. I'm like, she just touched on so many things just with this one boy's death.
I'm checking the minutes because 'cause I'm like, let me make sure. I don't know why I was on Neil's case. I apologize, Neil. I
I
don't know what
just
I like about
I felt like
her.
I feel like Nell was kind of like a blank canvas. Like she was just like a blank canvas for everyone else to project onto her. And she just kind of like just took it. And I was
Even
just like, and like I didn't mind because that you remember like that part where they have like a shared daydream, but it's not really shared. And it's like Nell is like the princess lying on the grass, just picking flowers, and Sula's like the prince riding up.
mhm.
That reminded me of, like, like, the Disney princess line, especially, like, Snow White, where it's like they're waiting on I wouldn't necessarily say they're waiting, but it's like they're kinda, like, helpless in their situation, except for, like, what they can manage until the prince comes along and takes them out of it and brings them to something new.
No, that definitely gives her.
And so that's kinda like the vibe I got from Nell. She's just kinda like been trained to be a blank canvas. So because her mom doesn't want her to be a prostitute and all this other type of stuff. And I'm like, okay, but your daughter has no personality now. You've like trained all the personality out of your child.
Like, even the wedding makes her even more mad to me because honestly, it's like, and even like her mother's fulfillment, blah blah blah. Oh, the drapes are getting messed up and kids are running around, and I don't care because we just got married. And then it's even like the man she married me, not saying names, but I really don't like him, so I'm not saying his name. But even the man she married, you couldn't get a job in construction, so you felt like less of a man because you was working in a hotel, so you said, "Let me get married," and let me get married
Mhm.
to Mel because she's the most man person. She a blank how you said she a blank canvas, and she cares about me, she listens to me talk all day long.
Yeah, because
Ew,
he did that mess because he wanted to feel like a man. Because it's like, oh well, I can't be a man in society because they treat me like I'm a second rate citizen. So you know what? I'm gonna be a man where I can get it, and Nell's not gonna have no pushback against that because oh well, she's just a blank canvas. She's not gonna push back. She's not gonna fight against it. Blah 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 blah. But the problem is that later on into their marriage, he realizes that she's still a blank canvas.
I love I'm, like, trying not to cuss, but I love how Sula came to town and she turned it upside down, baby, she turned it upside down. It was like she was returning like, she was returning to get things that weren't even hers in the first place. Like, I everything that's owed to me, I'm getting, and it wasn't even hers to begin with. I loved it.
It's the
Now
way
Sula
like it's the way she returned and it was like they were all like, "Oh," like like the part before she even got there, they're like the townspeople knew what evil was like, and they knew what evil looked like, and da 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 da. And then it goes to Sula arriving with all the pigeons, and I'm like, not evil. Done walked back into the town.
like, I right.
Oh, where were we?
We were on Sula. We were talking about, how how, oh, Sula being the big bad wolf.
Oh yeah,
We were talking about her being a big bad wolf and, like so, yeah, it was like it was weird. It was like, oh, Sula everybody just feel like Sula was this terrible person, but that's the okay. So now we gotta get our husbands. Now we and it's like it was like at least and this the thing that kills me. Oh, at least her mom had dignity. She would sleep with them and then, that's it. But Sula takes takes
they
them
was
and discards them all the way.
they was doing the same thing.
It's only they didn't leave you for Sula. They didn't leave you for Sula's mama. That's the only difference. It's not now Ajax.
Oh Lord.
I'm a romance person. I'm a
Mhm.
romance person. So the romantic person in me wanted me to love him.
I'm gonna tell
It
you.
wanted me to
I'm
love
gonna let you
this.
finish. I'm gonna let you finish, and I'm gonna tell you why I did not like Ajax.
But in hindsight, after I read it, in hindsight, I should have known where this was going. I should have known where it was going. Like nobody could stay emotionless that long. And then when Sula let him stay the night and in the stupid ribbon, that stupid ribbon, but it was her let him spend the night. That should have been the red flag. He should have been spending the night. And that's the thing about people like Ajax. Now let me get into Ajax. He was. I wanted a lot more from him. His mom was good. Thinking he see his mom in her, but it's like he's one of those people that wants the benefits of your love, but not the responsibility of your love.
Mhm.
That's the problem with him. He wanted somebody like his mama and, a free caring woman, a lot of thoughts, but he wanted his freedom to do whatever he wanted. Like, and then Sula, it was this scene where she found his real name and she was like,
I didn't
"I
even
didn't
know his
even know
name.
him." Yeah, I didn't even know him, so I couldn't be, like, forcing herself to, like, be out of love with him. We didn't even talk about her putting her grandma in the what you call it,
In the
in the
nursing
old folks
home. We gonna get to
home,
her.
and flipped
My
it
thing
upside down.
my thing with Ajax is, and some of y'all might get mad at me because I'm coming from a Christian perspective, but y'all just have to be mad. Ajax existed
Yeah.
to Ajax existed to emphasize Sula's evilness, because think about it, Ajax is the son of a conjure woman, and you know Christians and witchcraft do not mix. So it's
That's true.
like it's like from my perspective, he just exists to emphasize her evilness because he come from a family that does evil. And so it's like, oh, now they together. Now it's like twice as evil. So now everybody's like, oh my gosh, she done got with the conjure woman's son. So now that just ensures that she's evil. That just ensures that she's like the devil incarnate to them, in my opinion. You can edit
Yeah.
that part out if you want, but I'm gonna keep it in.
No, you can't. No, I don't think that they because the girls were lining up to fight over Ajax. So I
Hmm.
don't think that they saw him like that, but I could see that theory, but I don't think they saw him like that because the girls love them some Ajax. If anything, they probably thought she put a spell on him. But with that, well, I skipped over my notes to like the scene because that scene took me out. When she found his ID, that scene was and I feel like it's not I don't feel like it's her karma. I feel like it's more like destiny. Like everything she's loved, she's lost. She was lost her mom. She lost not her uncle because I don't think she loved him, but she lost her mom. She lost her best friend. She lost her dang on finger. No, but she lost Ajax. Like everything that she loves and like puts her energy, things that she really actually cares about, because she always loses them. And it's almost foreshadowing too because a lot of stuff like her mom got divorced. Her grandma lost both her kids, lost her husband. Like it's just a lot of like pain and loss. But it's not like I said. I don't think it's karma. It's more so like almost like destiny.
Yeah,
And I think
it's a
the
generational curse.
that's what makes the ID scene even more significant because it's like it's just another person leaving. It's just another heartbreak. Like it's she coped so fast with it. Like I didn't even know him. I didn't even know him, so I couldn't have loved him. Just off of that and just cut all of that off because she's so, like, used to it. Sula, because that's what Sula's sickness and all of that, another thing that you don't see coming. I don't even know what she was sick with, and it's like, even the death where
Um,
she was like, "Wait till
I
I
think it
tell Nell,"
was.
it didn't
I
even
think.
hurt.
I think it was tuberculosis.
Whatever it was, she got that medicine, she said she was saving it, and even when she died, she was like, "It didn't even hurt." And then me, yeah, I'm like, "Did she die from a broken heart?" Like, what sickness made her like her what sickness made her die and everybody else around her live longer? People, even though like, oh, she had teeth and all that other extra stuff, like she had all of her stuff kind of together. I'm like, what she get? But
It
we'll
was the
see.
town's reaction to her death for me. That girl died, and everybody was like, "She's dead." It was kind of like the Wicked Witch is dead.
See, so I wrote that down too. Nell's recollection of the Sula's death was crazy. It was explained, but after the grandma and she really gave after like the grandma scene and she really went into what happened, it was crazy. And she's saying the grandma, no, the grandma did not confuse you for Sula. She knew exactly who she was talking to. Like, I think I told you too. I was like, I think Sula might be a serial killer,
Hmm.
low key in the beginning, but she wasn't. But it's like the grandma knew who she was talking. Grandma all seeing. She knew who she was talking to, and you knew who she was talking to because you did sit there and watch. She was like, I ain't do it, but you watched and you did. And how you know? Grandma know everything.
And my favorite part was where she was like, "What does it matter whether you're Sula or Nell? Y'all the same to me."
So I want to put something in before I go to that note. Sula dying showed the town's like true colors because people went back to ignoring their husbands, mothers went back to abusing their children. It was like how you said, the wicked witch is gone. Now I could be myself. Now I don't need to love my husband, my children, my wife anymore. And in that last day, um, it's that recollection. I also want to go to that of what's that man name?
Shadrach.
I keep on calling him Sanji. Shadrach. When they were like, he tipped his hat off to her, so she must be the devil. He ain't nice to nobody. And just that miscommunication of like when he explained it, of thinking she said something, he was just saying always because he didn't know what else to say. And her thinking, oh, he know, but really he don't know nothing. And I wanted more of him. I did. Because they were like him and Sula turned the tile upside down. I said, okay, where? When? Huh? I know Sula turned it out. But where did he? Which lead me to my last, not my last point, but the last part for I guess the town is like taking half the town when everybody joined in. Um, when they was like, oh, that's the day they died. They wanted to. That was not a mistake. I don't believe that was a mistake. I don't think that like they just joined just for fun. I think they went in there and tore down what was I saying? They went into the tunnel and tore it down and like took their lives with it because they just wanted that tunnel gone. That's what I feel like. I feel like it wasn't like it was intentional. Like how
Hmm.
they said it got started. And it was just crazy that Shadrach didn't get harmed. But everybody in there, I think it was intentional. Even if it was maybe subconscious, maybe it was subconsciously. But I think it was done for a reason. They wanted that thing gone and they took it down with them.
I'm finna go super deep with this because
Okay, let's go.
okay,
He
this whole
biting his chip.
all right. So Shadrach, that's a biblical name, right? That's a character in the Bible. Toni Morrison did
Mhm.
that a lot. She take names from the Bible. So in the Bible, Shadrach is one of the three guys that got through in like the fiery furnace because he wouldn't bow down to the king because he served God, right?
Mhm.
So this Shadrach is he walking through the town. Oh, it's National Suicide Day. It's National Suicide Day. If we do this one day, it'll appease the rest of the year, so nobody will die. Right, right.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of like a what's that word? A juxtaposition. How like the Shadrach in the Bible, he's sent to his death, but he
Mhm.
lives, and Shadrach is leading people in this book is leading people to death. And so on that day where
Literally.
he finally, like everybody finally follows him to their death, and he's the only one that survives, I'm like, well, he's not the only one that survived, but like the story makes it seem like he's the like most notable survivor. And I'm just like, y'all followed this man to y'all deaths because y'all were tired of bowing down to white supremacy. Because if you like really pay attention to that scene, they're tearing down that tunnel because it represents all their broken hopes, all their broken dreams, all the broken promises that were promised to them by the government and by white people, like how they was gonna have jobs, how they was gonna be able to provide for themselves. So now
Mhm.
that's like a physical representation of their broken dreams. Now they done followed the man that's named after a man that was sent to his death in the Bible and lived. So now y'all done followed this man to y'all death, but instead of living, y'all done went into the little fiery furnace, which is the tunnel, and y'all done died by drowning.
I agree. I agree. They went that tunnel, but I don't think they wanted to make it out. I will say that. I don't think they wanted to make it out. I think they wanted to take that tunnel down with them.
And if we really think about it, they tearing down that tunnel that's representing their broken hopes and dreams and possibilities, and it took them down with it. So that speaks to how like if you let your brokenness consume you, eventually it's gonna take you out.
Baby, she has it's so much meaning in her books that it's now this last part that is killing me. This last part got me. The new horrors. The new horrors was so lame. It sent me. How can you say back in my day we had real whores? Not what we have now.
I'm like,
Did you
now,
really say that?
now, where's your standards?
She said, "It's a shame, but, like, back in the day, it was tacked to it back in the day. Like, they were they were whores, but at least they were themselves. Now girls are so shameful about it. But back in the day, y'all didn't like them because they didn't have no shame. So pick a side. Y'all want the girls to be shameful, or y'all
Or
don't
not?
want the girls to be safe.
I just, oh Lord, this book just had so much going on, but it was like the right type of going on.
No, it's like a folk tale, literally. Like it's like this is something that is gonna be referred to a lot. This I definitely could see this 100, 200, 300 years from now being like one of the folk stories that people say, you know how we have those? I really see that. And
Mhm.
she that girl. I will she is the girls that get it, the girls that get it. The girls that don't, they don't. It's suspenseful. It's like filled with death, it is, and with like spirituality and love.
So our next book is Everything I Never Told You.
And
Now
I'm just gonna
this
read, read this
this
one.
was this was a book that Tati wanted me to read. Um,
Mhm.
I gave this book a 3.
I love this book. It made me cry.
Um, it made her cry, and I'm not even gonna lie, this book was no, it's I don't want to be disrespectful or rude to Celeste Ng because this was her debut novel, and she's not a bad writer, but this
Mhm.
book was boring. This book was boring. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Because I literally like the first half of the book I'm reading through, it took like okay. I told Tati it was gonna take me 2 days to read this book because this book, look
So,
at that. Look at that.
that's what he thought.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna take me 2 days. It took me 5 days to read this book. I was on day three, still in the first half. I'm like, what is taking me so long to read this book? And so I sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, it's well written. The characters make sense. The emotion is there, even though I'm not really feeling it. And but it was like it's like I would sit down, I would read, and I'd be okay reading. But then once I finished reading, I'd be like, this book is boring. And I don't understand why. And then it wasn't until I was sitting down thinking about it that I realized my issue with this book right here, my issue with it is that it's predictable. So once again,
Okay.
I went from being a reader to a writer because I was like, because I was thinking about it, I'm like, I know what's gonna happen because I could tell by like chapter 3, I knew what was going on. I'm like, okay, this book is about a girl named Lydia who died and her family is grieving her. But the way
Mm.
it's marketed as a mystery. But this is not a mystery. This is a book explaining why this girl died.
That's why you don't read. That's why you don't read.
And so as I'm reading through it,
I know.
I'm like, if this supposed to be a mystery, it's not a good one because I've already figured out what happened by chapter 3. And this book is like 12 chapters long. And so once I realized the book was predictable, I was like, oh, that's my issue with it. I already know what's going to happen. And so once I figured that out, I finished the rest in like a day. And I was like, yep, I'm like, see, yep, that happened, that happened, that happened. It's exactly how I predicted it was going to happen. So that's why I get it. That's why I got a 3 because once I realized it was predictable, I kind of lowered my standards on it.
Mm. Baby Girl, one of my favorite books, made me cry. Now I haven't went back to read it again, but I will say I will agree. It took me a few days to read. I did not read on it, and from the back, what I did read, I didn't get suspense. I don't think. Um, but it's a book that I think I love it because how he said the emotion is there. Now with figuring out everything that happened, I don't I don't think the book is like a murder mystery. I don't. I think it's kind of what he said of just explaining. I personally see it as explaining this girl died and the effects that it had on her family, and then how her family played a role in her death. Like, yeah, her death is affecting them, but also how her family played a role, how her dynamics played a role in her death. And it crumbled the family and brought the face of the family down because they realized everything was a lie. Everything was a lie. Like everything was a lie. Like the dad, Lydia, the brother, even the neighbor. Everything was a lie. He's thinking that the neighbor and Lydia trying to be together whole time. Who's the real crush? Who's the real crush? So that last scene where she was like, when they're like at the pier together, and because it goes, if y'all don't know, the book goes back and forth from perspectives. I mainly remember Lydia's perspective and her brother's perspective, but it goes back and forth. So you do get her perspective and things, and then theirs. But that last scene where you get her perspective, it's like it's a lot for me. It's a lot for me. You want to break some of it down? Some
First,
scene?
oh shoot, you were frozen that whole time, and as soon as you finish, you back. I heard everything you said, so we got the
Oh,
audio.
I was gonna say, I know I did not. I ain't doing this again. I
We
ain't
got the
doing this.
audio, but you was frozen. So like, do a quick little smile so I can edit it. Okay,
Look,
there we go.
okay.
Um, my like I said, this book was boring. Like to the point, I don't even have no notes really. My notes was like, I was trying to get through this book.
All right, y'all. We're back because we have a little bit to touch on with Celeste. We feel like we didn't give you that much, so we got a little bit to touch on.
Um,
Um,
I just want to
you go.
say, you know, we were discussing Lydia's death. I kind of felt like it was an accident, but it wasn't because it's like the first time she fell in a okay, so she died by drowning in a lake in her town, and she actually fell in twice. One was when she was younger, but she was saved by her brother, and the second time was the time that she died. And I just said that she was saved by her brother, like he wasn't the one that pushed her in. But basically, like the first time that happened, uh, she kind of like when he pushed her into the lake, she kind of just accepted it. She was just like, "Oh, I'm in the lake. Finally, some peace." So I was like, kind of like the second time when she done rode her way out to the middle of the lake, and because she didn't accidentally fall in, she deliberately went out on that lake to try to prove that she could swim. So I'm like, I want. So part of me wonders if she purposely went out there to kind of just be like, okay, this is kind of like the last time I felt safe, so let's try this again.
Yeah, I definitely could see. I can see that. I don't know. I don't think that it was necessarily intentional, but I could see where you're pulling that from. To be honest, I think that last scene is what makes it, and Lydia's parts are what makes it so emotional because her parts are very just emotional. They touch a different place, and when you get her point of view, because I we could just sit here and tell you what happened and all her family, but the writing I think Celeste did, and I don't know if we said this on camera or not, but you said she pulled it from like a personal space, right? Or
Hmm.
she said that a personal place, and you could tell because it's just really personal. Like, cause you don't know what happened, but even when you find out from her, it's different. We could sit here and tell you exactly what happened, or he just told you, but when you read it, it's it's a lot different. And I think that's one of the reasons why. Not I think I know that's one of the reasons why I love it. It comes from a very emotional place.
Hmm.
And it's so different. The jumps from people, but also just from what Lydia actually experienced and what everybody else thinks she was or what she experienced, different things. But definitely a book you should go check out.
Yeah,
Check out that one.
we are down to our last book that we read.
I have all his covers like this. I have all of them like this. Look, This is my favorite type of covers from him. I literally have all of them. They're right there with Ronald's books. Have
I
all
really
of
like this
Ronald's
cover.
books. I have this. All the covers that are like this, I have all
Mhm.
of them. Oh, you just see the difference. Now this one I know we're gonna have different. I know we're gonna have different opinions, but I'm gonna
I
let you go first.
I gave this book a 4. I gave it a 4, and my first note
Lit.
was my first note was Eric writing style is funny. Like, it was so many moments that I was, laughing in the first part of this book, and then, like, my next
Oh,
my
I
next
wasn't
note
like
was, of course, us talking about y'all disrespecting us Black people from the South, but we already touched on that.
which
And then
they
my
do.
third note was, lots of these references didn't age well. You could tell this is a book from the '90s. What's my next oh, my next note actually got into the story. It said Tyrell was with a married woman. Shelby boyfriend cheated on her mattress. Look, Shelby in that mattress. I was like, Shelby, let the mattress go. Let it go.
No, no. Why would he do that?
And then my next note says, I thought Shelby and Tyrell was gonna be a slow burn while Leonard and Deborah heated up quickly.
You thought Miss Deborah,
I
Miss
thought
World was gonna heat up?
I'm thinking I'm talking like in general with their romance.
Oh,
I'm
I
just
read
like,
it.
oh, like their romance is kind of going a little bit fast, while Shelby and Tyrell is taking a long time. Now that I've read the whole book, I know why. My next note is why are we trespassing and making love?
I read it last
I
night.
think that was I think that was Shelby and Tyrell. Their time that they did it. So when they went in the hotel,
That was
they stole somebody's hotel room. I was like,
listen, when we got to that scene, I got a little nervous. I got a little nervous because there are very different types of I love romance, but with Black romance, you have very different types of people with their romance stories. So I said, Lord Jesus, please don't tell me I had Ronald reading another skyscraper. I did not have Ronald reading another skyscraper. Because Eric Jerome Dickey, he tells stories. I was like, please don't have me. But it was after that, I calmed down after that. But when I got to that part, I got a little scared. Because Shelby, it was so much. Shelby, why are you licking your fingers? She just do whatever. Shelby is the Sula. So Shelby do whatever she want. Whatever come to
you
Shelby
know
mind, she
what?
say, let's do it.
Shelby worked my nerves in this book. In fact, I wrote it down. I said, Shelby done lost my good graces. Shelby got on my nerves because it was like, I'm like, okay, I understand you'd have been cheated on. I'm on your side. Then, as we going through the book, she do what she do. We're gonna get to it in a minute. I'm like, Shelby, Shelby, come on now. And then when we find out about her mama, I'm like, okay, I'm rooting for you again. And then literally that same chapter, I'm like, never mind, I'm not rooting for you no more because you get on my nerves. And then like, I don't know, I just kept going back and forth with her. I'm like, she's like that one person, that one friend you want them to win, and they just for whatever reason refuse to win.
We gonna go to the next. What's your next note? Because Shelby, I love Shelby is that like you what you said. You love her, you want the best for her. But you can't make you can lead the horse to the water.
My next note is literally why are we having relations before we know each other? Both couples did this. I'm like, so
Not Miss
Deborah.
Deborah. Deborah was a kiss.
No, Deborah was not a kiss. The first time it
It
was a
was
kiss. The first time was a kiss, but I'm talking about when they went out to that
about
house.
the house.
Yeah, the
Wait, they were
house.
already together though. They were already we fast forwarded because they
It does
was
not
already
it
together by the
doesn't
point.
matter because Deborah's all, oh, Leonard's not gonna get me before marriage. Oh, because every time this happens, the guys get what they want and then they leave, and then literally we get in the house and what does she do? What does she do? I'm like, Deborah, you like the girls in Men Cry in the Dark. Oh, my mama raised me with morals. But then and
At
so
least
I'm not gonna give up nothing before we get married. And then literally,
they were at least towards the middle of the book. never had those sentiments, but they got a lot farther than Tyrell and Shelby. Tyrell and Shelby,
Uh,
see, it was split. The romance, so romance side, one was, quick, another one was slow burn. The relation side, one was quick and one was slow burn. But I like them together, but because the first, I ain't gonna lie, the beginning of the book is like really like cute. I mean, everybody having
it
their problems, but
is.
it's really cute.
It's
It's
really
when we
cute and really lighthearted. And then like we get to that one part and it just flipped it around.
we I'm thinking about it, bro. We was eating Michael up. And this is why I'm saying that. Because even with this book, we already to the middle of the book. Like we already to the middle of the book. Like we must have been cooking Michael. Because right now I'm like, what happened? I literally read this book last night. So I know we're literally at the middle. Like we're literally at almost like the climax. Like we're there. We're there.
Like we done skipped a whole bunch of parts. Like, first of all, we done skipped completely over Lisa.
But
Oh Lord. My next point is lying about being pregnant. This whole part of the story had me so confused because Shelby she just would not tell the truth. At first, I'm like, okay, she's pregnant, but then Deborah's like, oh, you lied to him. I'm like, oh, so she's not pregnant, but then it's like, oh, we gonna go get a test, and I'm like, so you don't know if she's not pregnant? It took me a minute to figure out, but
yeah,
basically, Shelby was pregnant. She lied about taking a pregnancy test to test how Tyrell was gonna react, and when he didn't react the way she wanted to, which I'll swing back around to that. When he didn't react the way that she wanted her to, she basically ran off and got rid of the baby. And then when Tyrell asked her, did you get rid of the baby? She was like, it's none of your business. And then they broke up. And then I just said I was going to swing back around to something. What was I finna swing back around to?
she got rid of the baby.
No, it was before that. It was, oh,
Tyrell
oh,
reacted. She didn't like Tyrell.
Tyrell's reaction. That part made me like, okay, so Shelby, what do you want? Because it's like, you tell him that you're pregnant, and he's like, okay, well, we got to start planning for it to come. We got to we got to move in together. We got to make sure we financially able to take care of it. And she's like, oh, that's not the reaction I wanted. I'm like, so what did you want? Did you want him to leave?
I think so. At first, I thought she wanted him to to tell her not to keep it. But I think what she honestly wanted him to do, because she heard Shakita words going coming in in her brain, was she wanted him to ask her to marry him. That's what she wanted.
That's really is
She
what she
wanted
wanted.
him to ask her to marry him, and he did not. So that's what threw her off. And one thing about Tyrell, he not doing the lies. You got one time to lie to Tyrell, and you
Hmm.
is done. You got
Especially
one
because
time.
especially because of what he went through with his dad. We skipped that part.
Yeah, yeah, we did. But you got one time to lie to him, and he was done. And Shelby, low key, she did run. She did run. I don't think that I think he would have been upset, but if she would have lied to him, I think it would have been different. And also, with Shelby and him, it's like Shelby knew she was telling him she wanted to leave. She was like, she about to leave. And when he told her to go, I wasn't saying it like that. Yes, she was, and you thought he was gonna beg you not to leave. You
Hmm.
did, Shelby. But
Play
you
stupid
play,
games, win stupid prizes.
period. You that's what happened. And Shelby is one of those people. I love Shelby. I do. I love Shelby. And I think that like my problem with Shelby in this moment was her inability to stand 10 toes down on what she decided. It is your body, it is your right, but stand on that.
Hmm.
Just stand on it. If you didn't want him to know, you probably should never called him. But since he knows anyways, you could at least tell the truth. Just stand 10 toes down and say, hey, I didn't want to have the baby. Or could have told him, "Hey, so you're not gonna ask me to marry you?" Like, you could have spoke instead of, like, trying to be subtle. But I also think it was like, well, with Shelby, you can't blame it on pregnancy hormones. Because I thought about pregnancy hormones for a little bit, but with Shelby, you cannot. You cannot blame it on pregnancy hormones, okay? So, that happens. Shelby get transferred. Tyrell transfer, but y'all just so happen to transfer to the same area?
No, Shelby went to San Diego and Tyrell went to San Francisco.
Oh, okay. I'm like, "Yeah, I could have sworn they went to the same area." But okay, yeah. They transfer, get it all done with.
Then
Tyrell is
my next point said Tyrell and Shelby need to heal first before being together. They bringing all their baggage into a relationship and they not trying to work on it.
wait. Oh, you were saying them in when they were together or getting back together?
When they broke up,
Oh, when they broke up, yeah, I was like, "Y'all need to not."
I'm like,
Tyrell
y'all,
decided he was gonna hurt the world.
because I knew they was gonna get back together at some point. I'm like, but before y'all do that, y'all need to heal. This next part, we going into part 3. As I said earlier, Leonard was my favorite. So,
Oh.
so if you ain't read the book, just cut this off right here because we going into spoiler territory. My notes literally say, "Not Leonard." No,
The most y'all know when Korea I get teary-eyed when I get to this part because y'all know in Korean shows, when they make you love a character, they make you get to know them, you know their favorite color, they amazing, and they take them out for no reason at all.
like
Like,
look,
every
you know what? I'm gonna put these notes to the side for a minute because I need to get this off my chest. Eric, I know that you've passed on, so you're not gonna get this, but sir, uh, there was no reason for you to kill Leonard off. There was no reason. The first 2/3 of this book was nice, cheerful, happy, and all of a sudden now you want to kill this man off? Everybody favorite character? Really? You
in
want
the
to kill
way we
everybody
all
favorite character off? And then my thing was, I should have seen this coming. Cause remember earlier, I was like, oh, their romance kind of moving a little fast. Romance moving a little fast. Leonard ain't got no point of view. And the third part is literally named Homegoing.
should I didn't know he was going home. I didn't know it was gonna be him. Every time I get to that part, I'm so sad, but I think he did it because every emotion everybody feels, you feel. Like when Deborah's crying out and everybody grabbing her, you like, no, Deborah, don't do it. I know you want, don't do it. Like she just, when you don't see Deborah cry, when everybody's when like in the book when he dies, everybody world stop and your world stops because you like just how Deborah was like, not Leonard going when Shelby was like touching his stuff. I'm like, girl, stop. Y'all gonna make me cry.
I was mad. But we gonna have to get back into it because you got less than a minute.
Okay, and we gonna get into that.
We can get
We
into
gonna
it
get
right
into
now because it literally was the next thing.
yeah. So Tyrell drives down. He gets there first. Of course, so he tell her Shelby gonna be so Deborah tells him Shelby's gonna be there the next day. Because we already got Deborah's point of view. She was like, of course, when her husband died, she made all of us cry. So then it's Shelby turn. Now Shelby been dating Richard. They've been doing whatever they've been doing. Richard is gone on her neck. I said, have you lost your mind? We should have known when Shelby told him get off of her. He is assaulting her, and he said, "No, he not." No means no.
You know what?
No.
I was gonna I was gonna save I was gonna save my rant until we got up to his part, but I gotta let it go now. I don't feel bad for Richard. I don't like Richard. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because Richard, spoiler alert, them two they didn't last. They broke up and then we'll get to what happened after that. But I don't feel bad for Richard because Richard, you knew that she was still hung up on Tyrell.
So everybody's
Yeah.
saying that they're so they get there. Deborah and Shelby go for a ride. That's when Deborah
You
cries for
know,
like the
they
first time from
release the
anxiety.
emotions.
And um Richard decide to introduce himself to Tyrell, which I don't even understand. Then they get into an argument. They go outside, right? And she's saying it like she's sweet, like they about to have a conversation, and they go get into an argument with Tyrell and Deborah eavesdropping. And
And then
Deborah eavesdropping.
the way it's written, it's like Shelby and Richard are arguing over Tyrell. And Tyrell is eavesdropping, and then Deborah is standing behind him eavesdropping, and Tyrell don't even know she there.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get that part right. It's the kiss for me. Everybody, the day down. Shelby upset, so she go to Deborah's room like she always do and get in the bed. Tyrell having a dream about Leonard. Oh, in the dream he's there, but then he has to leave. So he just, Tyrell is upset. So he get up and go to Deborah's room to check on her. He sees Shelby there. Now you know all the stuff Shelby done put him through, and he decided to give her a kiss. Okay, and so then Deborah, because Deborah is she the all knowing one in this book. She hates Tyrell. Hates Tyrell. What's going on? Yeah, I just came check on you. Yeah, I know. I was just checking on you. Yeah. Them getting back together was actually funny. Was like where the part where Shelby said she went back inside to ask the man at the urinal for change. Girl, if you don't get up out of here. Yeah. I love how Shelby is like so just direct. I love how she's so direct. She like, you want to dance? No. Get up. We're going to go dance. And what he do? Get up and go dance. And it made me sad though too,
No.
because he had to bring up the memory. Him and Shelby, the only two I knew they used to dance like that. They used to tell the dance floor together. Don't remind me. It's a whole funeral tomorrow. I don't need to be reminded. Need to be reminded. Okay.
Now, my next note, it says, "Why is Richard back? Why
I
couldn't
need
he leave?
change.
Why couldn't he leave and that be it?" Gotta set that down. Okay, like I said, I don't feel bad for Richard. I don't feel bad for you, sir. And after this, I especially don't feel bad for you because honestly, you left, but you didn't leave. You stalked Shelby, and then when she and Tyrell got back together, literally right after you left, you came right back around and basically tried to force her to be with you again. And then when
That
she
man
was
said, "Get,
going
get,
for it, you beat her up.
that man said, get in the car." What killed me is that man said you couldn't even wait till I got on the plane. You're supposed to be on the plane. You're supposed to be on the
Forget
plane.
forget be on the plane. You wasn't supposed to even be down here. You invited yourself.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
And then my thing is when he left, he's like, "Oh, tell Bobby and Alejandria and Deborah I said bye." I'm like, they don't like you.
We get to the end and wrap this beautiful story up where Deborah is a strong woman as she is. She tell his mama and his stepdaddy, look, he want us to wear bright colors and play this music. That's what's happening. And we just end it. They all get together, stepmama, godmama, goddaddy, and we have the actual closure that we were supposed to get. We got the actual closure that we were supposed to get. That's what happened. This is, yeah, this is a five. This is a five.
I gave
It
it a
goes,
4.
it is a five for me. It goes Sula, Friends and Lovers, both fives. 4.5 is my girl, Celeste, and 0 is my, and that's just how it goes. It
Oh my gosh.
goes.
I gave Sula a 5. I gave Friends and Lovers a 4. I gave Celeste a 3. And Michael got a 2.
I just listen, you can't read it in the order I read it. I read Sula, him, and then this. No, because this solidified it for me. This solidified it for me. This was written around the same time, probably, few years
The
apart,
same year, the same year.
written the same year, both by Black men, both 300 and something pages, both supposed to be emotional, both have really good, like, both have characters that could be something that could work, and things, thoughts that could work, but only one executed it.
And both had stage plays done by Jacarius Johnson.
Ooh, now how was Friends and Lovers? That better have been a good stage play.
All I'm you know what? I didn't even watch it because I read the summary. It said Shelby and Leonard together and Tyrell and Deborah together. All right. So y'all make sure y'all follow. Oh well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you watch from my channel, go follow Tati at Tati Simone. Simone is spelled Somne. And if you have an issue,
Mhm.
talk to her mama. And if you watching on Tati's, follow me at my name. It's literally Ronald Savage Jr. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. We're gonna try this again next month. And it's one more thing I wanted to say. Dang it, I gotta hurry up because we got like less than a minute. I don't remember, but I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Enjoyed as much as we did. Okay, y'all. Bye.
Bye.